The talking, nagging, lucha watching, puro viewing, indie supporting, drinking, cursing, son of a gun of a podcast. Join former pro wrestler and promoter Dave Dynasty and co-host Ike Isaacs as they talk wrestling and interview those within the business, bringing positivity back to pro wrestling. This is the Dave Dynasty Show.
Welcome to Dave Dynasty Show Quarantine Edition, or the first Quarantine Edition. Actually, that's not true. Not the first. We was quarantined last week when I put that episode together, but this is kind of the first all-encompassing quarantine episode. I'm rambling already, but it is what it is. But thank you for joining us, and we hope you're well. We hope you're safe. We hope you're staying home and helping to fight this thing, and let's keep it contained, and let's make it stop. This is kind of our first episode where we're going to dive and broaden our horizons. This is where Dave Dynasty starts talking, covering, interviewing, etc., all about just good wrestling, just wrestling what I like, and a lot of classic wrestling. But I will touch on modern stuff, the stuff I like, the stuff I don't like. I will call out. I will say what I want about. So do be forewarned. There are a lot of my opinions in these and in upcoming episodes, and that's all right. I'm hoping as a listener that you agree with a lot of what I say. I feel like if you are a regular listener to our show, that you probably do. So let's talk a little bit about some of the happenings in wrestling, right? This is such a weird time because there's no live shows really truly happening, at least out there with crowds and so on and so forth. There's not any independent stuff going on. Your televised companies are doing a lot of unique things. So let's talk about some of those. Let's start with Ring of Honor, right? I'm a big Ring of Honor fan overall. I have been for a long time. There are obviously things that I don't like about them as much right now. I don't think the roster's real strong, but I'm a huge fan of guys like Jay and Mark Briscoe. I'm a huge Briscoe fan. So I watch a lot just because of those guys. And here lately, Ring of Honor has been doing these package shows, these kind of best of shows, so to speak, where they'll take each episode, they'll take a Ring of Honor talent, and they'll do kind of this look at their career type thing in Ring of Honor. And it's really, really cool. It's really great. The first one, I believe the first one they did was on Jay and Mark Briscoe, and I loved that episode. It was very, very fun. And the second episode they did was with Jay Lethal. And both these episodes were really strong. And they got to go into their archives and pull out some really great matches that I haven't seen for a long time and put them on there. And I very much enjoyed them. And I'm not sure why the other companies aren't doing some of this stuff too, because they've got these vaults of stuff that they can dip into and do it. But so hats off to Ring of Honor. I think these were very enjoyable. The NWA. Let's talk about the NWA now, right? I'm a huge fan of NWA in the recent studio show overall, again. And they've been here lately releasing a lot of their full events, the big 2 to 3 hour mega events they've been putting out, the 70th anniversary show, a pop-up event, and things like that. They've been putting those out there for free on YouTube to watch, and that's very, very cool. It was unfortunate for a company like NWA who had a lot of momentum going on and lots of things happening, and then they have to delay Crockett Cup and do all these things. It really impacts them more than it does a lot of the other companies because, again, they had a lot of momentum and a lot of things going for them at that time. So it's not a good thing. Hopefully they can get by that and get back to it. I look forward to seeing their product in the future. I hope that like I said, I hope the momentum really keeps up. And that's it. I don't watch Impact. So I'm not sure what they're doing. I believe they've got TV taped up for a bit, so I'm not sure what they're going to do after that. I don't know. I've not watched regularly Impact for a while, and for no reason of just honestly, it's a lot of accessibility. It's harder for me to find that to watch, so therefore I don't. I know Lucha Libre is obviously taking a hit. I watch a lot of Lucha Libre online, usually CMLL and AAA put those stuff on YouTube, and obviously they've been affected too, and they've had to cancel events. So it's pretty weird. So it's a lot of people are watching, a lot of old stuff and a lot of archive stuff, and I love that. I watch a lot anyway of old stuff, but but I've dipped into watching a little more and digging into stuff. So let's talk about the big two, right? We've got the big two. We got WWE and we got AEW, and let's talk about AEW. Overall, I think AEW has handled this whole situation much better than WWE. The way they've done the empty arena type things, to me, has been on a whole nother level of WWE. The first episode they did without fans, I thought was great. I loved it. I thought it was much more focused and driven than a lot of their product is. I think the fact that they had some of the wrestlers out at ringside really added to it, and I was very impressed. The next week was not as good. Part of that stemmed from the fact that they could no longer have the wrestlers at ringside, right? There was a lot of limitations that had popped up that prohibited that, and I think that had a big impact on it. Now, this last week, where they're kind of at these secret locations, and it has more of a studio vibe to it, I really, really enjoy it. I think the way they're doing it now, overall, I really like it. And honest to God, I like it a lot better than some of their shows they put out there. Now, I have enjoyed AEW wrestling, and I will be honest and say some of it is simply the fallout effects of wanting so badly for an alternative to WWE. Now, AEW, to me overall, is not succeeding in being an alternative to WWE. They're just something else to watch. They get too hung up in doing these WWE light things that I hate. And some of the really silly stuff is still there. And I really hate that. But there are a lot of positives there. And I do like guys like Cody, and I like Dustin Rhodes, and I like MJF, and a lot of these type things. And those parts make it enjoyable. And I do like to do anything else. I skip over the stuff I don't like. WWE, with their... To be honest, I've not watched a lot of the Raw and SmackDown. I've watched a little bit, and I despised it. And to be frank, I didn't enjoy Raw and SmackDown before, and I enjoyed this even less. So, I just don't know. I think they're doing horribly with the studio shows. It's even worse, and I'm afraid it's going to give them this sense of, well, we could do all this like movies and film it this way, and it's crazy. It's ridiculous. But like I said here recently, I think AEW has been handling the situation better with their product. We'll see how this moves forward and continues. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, I'm going to review the first night of WrestleMania. It's an overview, right? I'm not going to go in depth. But let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk briefly about the first night of the Empty Arena WrestleMania. So stick around. Hey, make sure you visit DaveDynasty.com. That is your central hub for everything within the world of the Dave Dynasty Show. From there, you can find links to follow us on all of our social media accounts. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube, which you will want to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have lots of classic wrestling, every episode of the podcast, and other exclusive features there. While you're at DaveDynasty.com, check out the links to help financially support the show. That is how we keep this free every week. You can go to ProWrestlingTees.com/The Dave Dynasty and buy a shirt to help us out. PayPal.me/The Dave Dynasty to make a one-time financial contribution. Patreon.com/The Dave Dynasty to make ongoing monthly contributions. Or you can click our affiliate links for Amazon.com and HighSpots.com. No additional charge to you, but it helps us out. Thank you for your support, and check out DaveDynasty.com. Complete your experience with The Dave Dynasty Show.
Since 2001, drug companies dumped 1 billion opioid pills in West Virginia, causing over 3,000 overdose deaths and thousands of babies born addicted by no fault of their own. I'm attorney Stephen New. If you're the grandparent or guardian of a child born with neonatal abstinence syndrome, call me. I'll help you seek just compensation.
Call the law offices of Stephen P. New at 1-844-BAD-PILLS before time runs out.
All right, now let's talk about WrestleMania. This is WrestleMania 36. It's a 2-night event and held in the Performance Center, recorded in the Performance Center. And it's very, very, I don't know, it's odd, right? It's odd to see this kind of setting for WrestleMania because we're used to WrestleMania being this huge event and all these big entrances and this and that. And for that alone, I think this WrestleMania falls short. Now, I understand the situation. I understand it is what it is. I still think that WrestleMania should have been postponed. They should have just done it at a time when they could do it or just not do it at all. I think WrestleMania needs a crowd. But with that being said, let's talk about the first night of WrestleMania from Saturday night. We're just going to go match by match, and I'll very quickly give you. I'm not going to bore you with a lot of details. If you watched it, you watched it. If you didn't, there's a reason. So I'm not going to go I'm not going to go move by move on these things or anything like that. I'm just going to give you some overview, right? In the kickoff show, we had Cesaro versus Drew Gulak. And I really enjoyed this match. It was a little short for me. I understand it being a kickoff. It wasn't going to get a lot of time, whatever else. I would love to see these two really go at it I would like to see him go at it with the cuffs off. I love both these guys, especially Cesaro. I stand in that crowd of not understanding why Cesaro has not been bigger than he is and given more opportunities. It's just one of those WWE oddities, right? One of those things where when it gets settled on someone not being in a position, it's hard to get out of that position. So I enjoyed this match. I wish it was longer, had more to it, but I did like it. And then the actual show kicked off with the women's tag match, the Kabuki Warriors versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. I didn't like. Wasn't a fan. I like the Kabuki Warriors. I enjoy those two tremendously. I am a Alexa Bliss fan, but I do not like her in this scenario that she's in. I don't like her teaming with Nikki Cross. I don't like any of this. I would like to see her very much go back to being the arrogant, snarly heel, and think that's where she's best utilized. So anyway, not a fan of this match. Then we had King Corbin versus Elias. Yeah, we're not going to say much about this. Did not like the match. Don't give a crap about either of these guys particularly. Elias has been wasted. I thought there was a lot of potential there, but I think it's too late for that. The Raw Women's Championship, Becky Lynch against Shayna Baszler. It was an okay match. Again, this is one of those matches that I think could have very much stolen the night had there been a crowd in the big event scenario and everything else. And that is unfortunate to me that they didn't have the opportunity to do that. But the match was all right. And then the same exact points for the next match, the Intercontinental Championship, Sami Zayn against Daniel Bryan. This match on paper had me so excited, and I wanted to see it so much. I'm a fan of both guys, but again, I think this is a match that let me down because of the lack of crowd. It just didn't have that X factor, right? It didn't have that third band, that third element to it, with the crowd and the reaction and everything else. So it did disappoint me. There was nothing because their performance, their work was great and fine, but again, I think this was one of them that was a letdown. And I hate to keep saying that, but I think that is the way I feel about this overall. The tag championships, Morrison versus Kofi versus Jimmy Uso in the ladder match. To me, ladder matches are too overdone. I don't think they have. I think they've just used them so much that they've lost their appeal to me. Right? This match, it let me down again. I'm a fan of all these guys, and I keep going back to the crowd. Right? When you have a ladder match and you take a big bump in a ladder match and there's no crowd there to react and to give you that feedback and what's the point? It doesn't work for me. And again, I understand the situation and why they're in it, but to me, the lack of crowd is just taking away from the show completely. We're not even going to discuss the 24 championship bit with R-Truth and all them. R-Truth is such a great talent that is just, I think he's underutilized so much. Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins. This is probably one of my favorite matches. Probably was my favorite match of the night. I thought these two guys did a heck of a match. I like that it switched to no DQ thing. And really, these two really seem to want to get each other, right? There really seemed to be some animosity between them. Again, it probably would have been great with the crowd taking it next level, but these two knew how to work it, right? They really took the quiet to their advantage by talking, by trash talking, and it gave it that element to it of the rivalry. So I thought this was probably the best match of the night. Then the Universal Championship, Goldberg against Braun Strowman. Again, I was perfectly fine with this match, right? I've heard some people say that it was not any good. It was too. Here's the deal. It's going to be a short match, right? What is Goldberg? Number one, what is Goldberg going to do? It's got to be a short match just for that fact alone. But number two, when you have Goldberg versus Braun Strowman, it's going to be a short match. I was perfectly fine with this match. I was perfectly fine with how they did it. Perfectly fine with the length, and I was perfectly fine with Braun Strowman winning the title. I think this match was exactly what it should be. But again, had there been a crowd, I think it would have added something to it. Now, The Undertaker versus AJ Styles in this Boneyard match. Man, let me tell you, everybody's talking about this. Everybody's talking about how great it was and how much they loved it and this and that. Let me give you my 2 cents, right? I've kind of skimmed over everything else so that I can maybe discuss this a little more. I 100% absolutely hated this match. Now, this is just me. This is my perspective on wrestling. I don't want to see it look like a movie. I don't want to see it portrayed this way. I don't want to see effects and elements and know that it's overly edited. I like two guys in the ring going at it, reacting to the crowd, and doing it off the cuff. That's why I don't like these matches that are so premeditated and so worked out. I like when they call it in the ring and they feed back off the crowd, and I like that. That's what makes me love wrestling, right? I like that element to it. I like that feel to it. I like that on the edge kind of feeling. And man, sure, this thing, if you don't pretend it's in professional wrestling, because it's not a professional wrestling match, right? This is like a big fight scene sequence from a movie. And if you look at it from that side, yeah, this match, this was planned out great. It was executed great. It looked beautiful. That's all great. That's not what I want in a professional wrestling show. And I think this is exactly probably what we're going to get tonight on the second night with John Cena and Bray Wyatt. And I'm just not a fan, right? I love AJ Styles. I love The Undertaker. And now, I will say this is probably the best use for The Undertaker they have. Because notably, when he's had some matches, he's struggled with them a bit because of his age, because of his lack of activity and all this stuff. So yes, this is probably the best use of The Undertaker. And I could see them doing more like this with him. I could see us getting an Undertaker versus Sting match finally, but doing something like this. With this kind of match, this big production type thing. I don't like it. That's just my stance, right? I did not enjoy the match, did not like the match, do not like anything about it. I think it was too overly produced. It's not dirty enough, raw enough, and on the edge enough for me. Not the professional wrestling I like. I don't think it is real professional wrestling. I think it's a whole movie scene, and it is what it is, and it will not be something that I will ever rewatch. So those are my takes from WrestleMania Night 1. Give me feedback on that, right? On each one of these segments, we talk and everything I review, discuss. Give me some feedback. You can do that on Facebook. You can do that on Twitter. Just look up The Dave Dynasty. You can do it on Instagram. You can shoot me an email at dave@davedynasty.com. Give me feedback. Ask me questions. You want me to expand on my opinion? You want me to say a little more? You want to tell me that I'm a fool? And here's your opinion why? Go ahead. Shoot me an email. Shoot me a message on Facebook. Post up on the page. Send me a tweet. Hit the DMs on Twitter. Whatever you got to do. But I want the feedback. I want to know what you think. I want to know what your opinions were. And I want to know what you think of my opinions. Let's have a discussion on these things. Let's take another break. And when we come back, we'll discuss WrestleMania Night 2. So stick around.
Are you looking for the newest and hottest in the world of pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on PowerSlam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 6,000 hours of the best events from over 150 of your favorite promotions from 20 different countries around the globe. Brands like Progress Wrestling, Evolve Wrestling, Combat Zone, Defy, PCW Ultra, PWX, Over the Top, Shine, and hundreds of others with fresh content added every day for only $5.99 per month. Get your free trial today at powerslam.tv.
Just use promo code DYNASTY. If you are looking for the best books, DVDs, and posters on classic wrestling nostalgia, then you want to visit crowbarpress.com. There are literally dozens of titles there, including biographies of the likes of Bruiser Brody, Ole Anderson, Ivan Koloff, and of course, Dick the Bruiser, as we've spoke about here on the Dave Dynasty Show. You want to visit crowbarpress.com for all of your classic wrestling nostalgia needs. Again, that is crowbarpress.com. All right, and we're back. Let's now take a look at Night 2 of WrestleMania. On the kickoff show, they had Liv Morgan versus Natalya. I was a little disappointed in this match. I'm not a huge Liv Morgan fan per se, but I am a huge Natty fan, and I think she's one of the most underutilized talents they have. So all in all, I think the match was kind of, I don't know, just didn't have anything for me. I wasn't really that impressed. But let's kick off the show. And if you want to talk about me being impressed, then all you got to do is look at the opening match on the show. Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. Holy cow, let me give you come on. This is what needs to be done in all these empty arena matches. The trash talking, the loudness, the aggressiveness. These two did not approach this match like there were still people out there, like so many others do, right? They approached it like they were in there to beat the hell out of each other. And they didn't care if people were there to see it or not. It didn't matter. The fact that they trash talked each other so much and so loud, just it got rid of the silence. The match was great. It was hard hitting. A plus for me. This match right here. If you're watching one match from WrestleMania weekend, this is it. Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. That's my match for the weekend, right there. Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley. It was all right. It was a little underwhelming. I'm a fan of both these guys. I like them both. I'm glad Aleister Black went over. I don't know what the hell Aleister Black wore to the ring. That thing was weird with the horns. I get his gimmick and all, and his approach and his lifestyle, but that thing was just ridiculous looking. It looked like he was wearing, I don't know, rotted seaweed or something. It was disgustingly weird. Otis versus Dolph Ziggler. Now, was the next match. And this is one of those matches, it wasn't a great match, right? There wasn't a whole lot great about the match itself. But this is one of those matches that really needed a crowd. Because it needed the reaction, it needed the feedback. And I'm telling you, it is such a shame that Otis got to lift Mandy Rose up and kiss her at the very end after the match, and there was no crowd there to pop. That would have been a huge pop with that kiss. So it's unfortunate that there was no crowd for that. That Otis and Mandy didn't have a crowd there for that moment. That's one of the unfortunate side effects of this. Now, the last man standing, Edge versus Randy Orton match. So you remember just a few moments ago, everything I said about Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte. Well, this is the exact opposite. I hated this match. Absolutely hated this match. And oh my God, how long was this match? This match felt like it went on for 4 hours. It was too much. It was way, way too much. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know why they thought it had to go this long. The fact they fought all over the place was okay. Obviously, being last man standing, and that would have been great. But this match needed to be about a quarter of the length. And the worst part of the match was not just the length, but the announcers during this match. They were doing this weird golf whisper thing. They were horrible. They're horrible anyway, let's be frank. But in this match, they totally drained what little could have been. You needed freaking Jim Ross calling this match. Although he might have fallen asleep as long as the match was. So I despised this match. I hated it. It was the proper end. Edge needed to go over, but it was not a good match. The Street Profits versus Angel Garcia and Austin Theory. I put on Twitter, I could really get behind Angel Garcia. Did I say Garcia? Good grief. I could really get behind Angel Garza and Austin Theory as a tag team if they get some matching gears and a cool name. They got Selena Vega with them. I really could. I think they're young. They're sharp looking. I think they'd be great. I also saw somebody put on Twitter talking about the Street Profits, saying that they were just the cartoon WWE version of the Gangstas. That made me laugh a lot. This match was all right. It was just kind of middle of the ground, nothing that's spectacular. The whole deal at the end with Bianca Belair kind of seemingly to side up with the Street Profits, it might be interesting. We'll see where that goes. We'll see if that just corners Bianca in a kind of a valet type manager role, or what will happen with that. But it was all right. The match, it wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It was just kind of there. The SmackDown Women's Championship, Bayley versus Sasha Banks versus Lacey Evans versus Tamina versus Naomi. Yeah, I kind of wish I had fast forwarded through this match. This match had nothing for me. It just nothing. The only thing that really would have saved this match for me is if they'd had Tamina win, because I would have liked that curve, and I think Tamina deserves a championship run. I think Tamina's different than the other women wrestlers, and I think it would have been nice to give her a shot. But having Bayley defend was okay. I don't know. I mean, maybe I know it felt like Sasha Banks was going to do the turn in this, right? And they didn't do it. Perhaps they did that because there wasn't the crowd there to react, maybe, which is not a bad call. But this match was just so blah for me. And, yeah, I'll pass on that one. As I will with the Firefly Funhouse match. John Cena versus Bray Wyatt. Dear God, just like the Boneyard match from the night before, I don't give a crap. I don't want to watch movie productions in my wrestling show. I don't care how many effects you can put on. I don't care how many camera tricks you do on. It's not professional wrestling to me. I don't want to watch it. So this match, it was horrible, sucked. I'm strongly disappointed in it. I understand, given the circumstances, it's something different, but I would never watch this match again. And really, I only half paid attention to begin with because it lost me. It's just not what I want in professional wrestling. And Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre. I thought this was a good match. You got two guys who look like professional wrestlers to me. It was hard hitting, and I think they went with the right finish. McIntyre winning, I think, was right. Again, I hate the fact he didn't have the crowd there for his moment, his championship moment. As always, man, I don't know. People always continue to give Brock Lesnar grief about being part-time and about doing this and doing that. Brock Lesnar to me is one of the best workers in the business. He looks believable. Everything he does is believable. He sells well for other guys, and man, I don't know. There doesn't seem to be a lot of ego about him. I know he butts heads with people about certain things. That's just standing up. It's okay, and voicing your opinion. He's in that position. But he how many times has he got in there and made somebody else look like $1 million and put him over? He's smart. He knows the business. I'm a huge Brock Lesnar fan. I thought this was a great match. I'm a huge Drew McIntyre fan too. I think Drew. I think he might benefit more with the mouthpiece with him. I know they don't really do that as much anymore. But I think it was the right move, and I'm curious to see where it goes from here with Drew as champion. I am completely worried that given the situation in the world right now and all these empty arena stuff that we'll have to do and the modified shows we're going to have to do, that it's going to hurt Drew. And we're not going to get a true gauge as how he could do as a champion as the guy without crowds and everything. So that's my fear, but hopefully not. Hopefully we can get by it and he succeeds and has a good run. Hopefully, maybe I'm assuming Brock will probably take a break for a bit and come back at some point, like he usually does, and that's the way it should be. So we'll see what happens with this. I thought the second night was better than the first, if for no other reason, just the Rhea Ripley Charlotte Flair match. Like I said, match of the weekend. If I was going to watch one match, that would be it. So there you have it. There's my 2 cents on WrestleMania. I'll do this from time to time. I don't want to be like every other podcast where I just do all these reviews. I'm not going to review Raw and SmackDown. I can sum it up right now for you. Yeah, they suck. In my opinion, I don't like either show. I'm not going to watch either show. Every once in a while, I'll put it on and I'll scan through it just to see certain things. But man, it's hard for me to get through it. I do watch Ring of Honor regularly. I watch NWA regularly. I mean, with the programming I still watch the Ring of Honor. Like I said earlier, I like to recap the package shows they're doing. So I might talk about some of that here in the future. But like I said, get out there and support some of the guys during these times. Buy some shirts. Subscribe to some streaming services. Buy some DVDs. Do something to help these guys out in these trying times. And like I said, if you follow me on Facebook or Twitter, you know I've said this a dozen times. When you support wrestling, don't just support all wrestling. I hate that saying, support all wrestling. Support all wrestlers. Nah, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do, and what I would urge you to do, is to support good wrestling. To support good wrestlers. Because if you support those, then the bad eventually fades away and weeds out. So don't just throw your money willy-nilly. Don't just go to a show just because you can and just because it's there. Go to a show that you want to see. Go to a show that looks like it's doing it right. That's booking properly trained guys that look like wrestlers and that are professional and running their shows right. Don't just go to some junk show in the backyard of someone's house just because it's wrestling in your area. Give your money and support real wrestling and real wrestlers. Guys that take this business seriously, get properly trained, look good, conduct themselves professionally, and most of all, like I said, I've said this a dozen times, most of all, support the guys who are good people, who are not slime buckets, who should not even be in society, much less professional wrestling. You hear all these talks about this guy and that guy and things they do, and all the time there's people coming up that, they did this and they did that, and they were sending these messages to this person. Okay, well, we hear those talks, and if if it's out there, don't support those people, right? Let's be done with them. Let's get them out of the business. Support the good stuff, support the real stuff, and support the Dave Dynasty Show. Hopefully we fit into that good and real stuff. But this is the Dave Dynasty Show. I am Dave Dynasty. You can find me at davedynasty.com On there, there's links to all the social media. There's links to Patreon and PayPal. Please support the show. Help keep it free. And that's it for this week. We will have some interviews in the future. I've got some cool things lined up, some tribute shows to different guys. And again, as we open up the doors and branch out, we're going to explore lots of new kinds of wrestling and new territories that I'm always a fan of, and I know and I watch, but not just Midwest stuff. And especially now that here I am in sunny North Carolina, hey, we got the whole Mid-Atlantic region here at my fingertips. So we're gonna look at some cool stuff. And make sure you watch us on Facebook, because I am doing a lot of watch along or streaming some wrestling on the Dave Dynasty Show Facebook page. So check that out to help you pass the time. That's it for this week. We'll see you next episode. I am Dave Dynasty. Of course, this is the Dave Dynasty Show. And remember, it is most important right now, whatever you do, be good, be safe, keep on growing, and stay at home.